In this session we're going to look at printing. We've finished our toothbrush sales off and we have everything we need to present. We've looked at different formulas and the most common ones we use. We also looked at different ways of applying them and how cells add and also perform calculations. We also looked at how we can copy things across by using the handles, and this makes our life a lot easier. But when we get to printing, you've got to be aware of different things. First of all, we alluded to the page size. If the page is not the right size, and in this case here it's very tall, not very wide, and I need a more wider page, I can always go to the page layout and orientate my page landscape. You notice that dashed line moved from here out wider, but it's also made my page a lot shorter. So by reorientating my page, you can see it now sits in the top left hand corner. The other thing we may want to do when we print it, we might want to change the margins, and we can actually alter the margins, and you can go in there and in print preview you can generally grab the margins and move them around, so be aware of that. So if I want my print areas, I can turn those on, also headings in the print, so I've got some different sheet options here. And one of the other things we might want to actually have a look at is the formulas, and in here we can actually insert date and time. So if you wanted to, you can actually automatically put that in to a new cell. So up here we can go date time, and we can have the date, and I'll just click oh. Well, in most of them it will actually insert the date for you. You can also set those in your header and your footer if you wanted to. Now, one of the other things you need to be looking for is underneath File, and when you go into your print area, or sometimes you'll actually find it under your page and under your options, it's actually going to what's called the formula layout. So with formula layout you can actually see the formulas behind all of these. Because at the moment we see what's called a value printout, where we can actually see the values, we also want to be able to see the formulas that are behind these. So we need to head into, we're going to go into the formulas, and we're going to select up in the top right hand corner here, which is show formulas. So sometimes you actually got to go into things like preferences, and then there'll be a checkbox for formulas, or under print preview there's show formulas. And when you show your formulas, you've got to make sure that they fit to the pages. So in our page layout, we've got to make sure our orientation is landscape in this case. We're not concerned in a print preview format about labels. So in the case of first name, last name, we just need to make them visible. But what we do need to see is that we actually see the actual formula names. You don't want them cut off, so you don't want to have a situation like this where you can't see the formula. So it's important that everyone can see the formula, and you need to resize your columns so they best fit where you can see them. Now under File and Print Preview, you notice now that you can see the formula view. There are also guides you can turn on, which is headers and footers and grids, and they're a good thing to have. So guidelines, yes. Headings, yes. So under File, Print Preview now, we can actually see them as a grid. So this is a very useful printout for when you hand work up. I'll ask normally for two printouts. One will be called a value printout, and one will be called a formula printout. The formula printout is this one that we're looking at, and it's really important that when you do print it, that you can actually see the formulas, and that you do have the row and column guides turned on. The other one is the value printout, which is what we had before. So I head back to File, I'll turn this view off. Under Formulas, turn this off. When you go into Print Preview for this one, it's not so important to actually have these turned on. So once again, you need to make sure that everything's laid out correctly in your print preview. So this one is very important that it looks nice. So your value printout, which is the one we're looking at now, needs to be presented really well, and your formula printouts must have your formulas showing. So in my value printout, I may want to go to page layout, and I may not have these guidelines turned on. So my value printout now looks very nice, and then my formula printout, which you saw before, has all the information behind the spreadsheet. So when you hand work up, you'll be required to hand up both the value printout and also the formula printout. If you're on a Mac, you'll have to go to Excel Preferences, and there is a checkbox under there to turn it from value printout to formula printout. So just be aware of that.